Good morning. I wanted to take a couple minutes to talk to you about emotions and also a very positive, effective, empowering response to our emotions. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is emotions in and of themselves. There's so many different emotions that we can feel, and people tend to want to categorize emotions as either good or bad. So sometimes when we do this, it can complicate things because emotions are not good or bad. They're just indicating that something is going on inside of us that needs a little bit of attention. So I'm just going to give you an example. If I were to say to you, is happiness a good or a bad emotion? You might tend to say, it's a good one. And if I were to ask, is sadness a good or a bad emotion? You may tend to say, that's a bad one. Happiness may feel good. Sadness may feel bad. But they are not in and of themselves good or bad emotions. When we categorize emotions as good or bad, if we call sadness, frustration, anger, disappointment bad emotions, then the complicated issue that arises is that we can tend to create judgments and belief systems and emotions about our emotions. For example, if somebody is feeling sad and they see sadness as a bad thing, then they're going to be worried and upset that their sadness has surfaced again. Instead of taking time to process the sadness, they're going to try to push it away because they're fearful of it, they're worried about it, they're upset about the fact that they're feeling sad. And so I want to encourage you to just recognize that emotions are just that. They're just emotions. They're just letting you know something's going on inside. Take a minute to give it your attention, and that in and of itself is all that's required. If I were to walk by a coffee table and to aggressively, unexpectedly stub my toe on the corner of the table, and my toe starts throbbing, but because of a false belief system, I believe that my throbbing toe is bad, that the throbbing indicates something bad, that something's wrong with me because my toe is throbbing. If I were to just mentally try to focus on the throbbing toe and get it to stop throbbing, it's not going to work. The whole analogy just sounds ridiculous. And if you're trying to think that out, you're probably thinking even to yourself, Jen, that's a ridiculous analogy. But guys, we try to do that to our hearts and with our emotions. Sometimes we're feeling sad, upset, angry, and we feel so concerned about the emotion. We're trying to get it to go away. We're trying to run from it. We're trying to pretend it's not real. And it's not going to go away. It's just letting us know that somebody has tripped on our heart, or we have stubbed our heart. Something is hurting, something is stirring, something needs our attention. Now, the emotion in and of itself, no, like we don't need to be concerned about it. Even anger, like why would you feel concerned that you feel anger? We do have to ask questions about what we do with those emotions. I'm not saying that every response to anger is a correct one. We have to decide what we're going to do with the emotions we have. Okay, so the first and most effective question that we can ask ourselves is simply, what am I feeling right now? What am I feeling right now? Are you able to take 2 to 5 minutes to just sit and pay attention to your body, physically and emotionally, and ask yourself, what all emotions am I feeling right now? Am I feeling sadness, anger, disappointment? You may feel multiple emotions, so write them all down or keep track of them in your mind. There's hot air balloons all over in the sky. I'm going to show you this one really quick. I'm in Arizona, so we get hot air balloons. I call them the dragons in the sky because they kind of roar like dragons. Okay, that caught me off guard. Back to it. Can you give it 2 to 5 minutes to ask yourselves, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? What am I feeling? Really simple question. Write down all the emotions that come to your mind, or at least acknowledge them. You may feel multiple, and you may even feel conflicting emotions. It's possible to feel happy and sad at the same time. The next question I want to encourage you to ask yourself. Again, these are empowering questions. You may be thinking, Jen, this is the most basic stuff, but so often we forget to do this. We don't take time to do this, and we think we know what's going on inside of ourselves, and we may be missing very important things, very important stuff. So, what am I feeling? Number 2, why am I feeling this way? This question is a little harder to answer sometimes, but it's so important to ask. Why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling right now? Okay, if we take 5 minutes to do these 2 steps, we've done 2 very essential and empowering things. We have acknowledged ourselves. We've honored ourselves by giving ourselves time to recognize there's emotion going on inside of me right now, and maybe it's one that's harder to process. It's not bad. Maybe it feels bad. Maybe it's uncomfortable, but I'm going to acknowledge what's going on inside of me. And I'm going to recognize what happened to cause this emotion inside of me. Okay. Now that we know what we're feeling and why we're feeling that way, if you've been able to identify the why, sometimes we have a hard time with that one. And so we need to sit with it for a little bit. We need to give ourselves time to answer the why. But if you're able to answer the why, then it can really take the steam out of our temptation to create emotions about our emotions. Here's why. Because we begin to give ourselves a sense of validation of simply recognizing, oh, I'm feeling this way for a reason. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with this emotion. I'm not crazy. I'm sad because this happened. There's a connection. And so that can be very validating and empowering, just to acknowledge, what do I feel and why do I feel that way? Now here's the third thing I want to encourage you to do, okay? I want you to recognize what you can do about the situation. If there's a conflict with an individual, if there is stress about finances, if there is a sadness about a loss that you had no control over, if there was a trauma that was placed upon you, like abuse, something that wasn't your causing or your fault, in each and every situation in life that can cause emotions that are difficult to process, we have power and we have responsibility in all of those situations for how we are going to deal with our emotions. It's very hard, especially for someone who's lost someone that they love, or for someone who's experienced trauma like abuse, to recognize, I'm responsible in this situation. You're not responsible for causing the emotion, but you are responsible in the moment that you have the emotion for what you do with it. So we can take time to process that emotion with a really close friend, a loved one, someone we really trust, or we could talk to a pastor or a counselor to get help. These are all ways that we can deal with emotions that feel really hard to process. I'm going to show you one more dragon in the sky coming right over my house. I can't not stop and show you. How beautiful is that? Right over my house. Wow. Yeah, that is like so much closer than it even looks on camera. So, all these hot air balloons and this talk about emotions, and I'm trying to think of an analogy, and somebody help me out with that. But yeah, it's really random, but I'm not gonna cut and remake the video. I just wanted to share those things with you, and the hot air balloons in the sky today. with our emotions, it's important for us to honor our hearts, and it's like we're always wanting that honor and that recognition and that validation from other people, especially the people who hurt us. And sometimes they're just not, they don't even have the ability to give us what we need. And I want you guys to know that you are empowered to be able to process those things and to be able to meet these needs that you have without feeling like you are imprisoned to needing something from somebody else that they're never going to give you. And so ask yourself, why do I feel, what do I feel? Number one, what do I feel? Why do I feel this way? And what can I do about it? If you are telling yourself right now, there's nothing I can do about this, it's not fair, it was placed upon me, and this person owes me an apology. They owe me so much. I want you to know that you're not stuck. You are not imprisoned to this person, not to the emotions. I'm not saying that people can't be predatory and try to create a situation where you feel stuck. In any situation where there's ongoing verbal abuse or sexual or physical abuse, I encourage you to ask for help, cry out for help, like immediately. But in this video, I'm specifically talking about emotions. And sometimes people get out of a hard situation and they remain prisoner to the emotion for years, remaining a victim to an emotion that somebody else, because of somebody else causing pain in their life for years. If you are not choosing to process your emotion, I want you to know you can. You can be empowered. You can reach for freedom from whatever it is. And I pray that you would choose that. I hope that this video has been helpful for anybody who's been having a hard time with ongoing emotions. There's no time limit on grief, sadness, anger. When you're feeling those things, don't let anybody tell you you should be over this by now. Just allow yourself to feel emotions as they come. If somebody gets over something faster than you, great. If somebody else takes longer than you, give them the time and space to process it the way that they need to. Encourage them to keep dealing with it and processing it, because that's the important part. We don't want to just give it time and not deal with it and just stay stuck in it forever. As long as you're choosing to move forward, meeting with a counselor, talking to a pastor, or doing things on your own, in your own time, in your own space, to acknowledge the hurt, what's causing it, and what you can do about it, to experience some freedom from all that. This was a really long video, and the hot air balloons didn't help, but I do hope that this was helpful for you. Love you guys, honor your heart, and have a great day.